people up in arms in Northborough?
Hey,
Yeah, we've got it. There we go. I think we're ready almost. But yeah, we have a 12-foot water line, 100 feet deep, and if we break the water line, nobody in Chicago gets fresh water.
Oh,
And
wow.
we got tiles going right next to the water line.
Okay, we're live streaming.
Okay.
Okay, so hi, everybody. Today is July 13th, 2023. This is the Design Review Committee. This open meeting of the Design Review Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to the Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law March 29th, 2023. All members of the Design Review Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The act allows Design Review Committee to meet entirely remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to the Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation. This meeting will not feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond. Dario DeMar.
Here.
Lisa Maselli.
here.
Dave Varon.
You're muted, Dave, but we got it.
And Lori, staff, when I call your name, Lori Connors.
Here.
No Bob today?
No, Bob is sick.
Oh, okay. The business meeting ground rules. The chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until their name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the board will be a roll call vote. It is now 10:23. And first on our agenda today is 343 Hudson Street. And we have where we left off. We're going to discuss the landscaping plan. And then I'd like to go through the letter from the town planning director. So George, I don't know if you want to kick it off or have Dave go through his landscape.
I think we should go right to Dave and let him just explain what he's got. That's the most important part of this meeting.
Okay. Dave, do you want to share the landscaping plan? Or you want me to pull it up if I can?
Why don't you pull that up, and then on this one I have to recuse myself because I designed this plan on that.
Oh.
So we'll work as far as I'll explain the plan to you guys as far as these guys, and then you guys can comment or whatever for that.
Okay. Lori, it says the host disabled participant screen sharing. I couldn't share it. Do you want to share it? The landscape plan? You can do it, Lori, if you want, or if you enable it, then I can.
If you would do it, Amy, because before, remember, I had the issues with my my screen when I tried to share.
Okay.
So that'd be great if you could do it. Hi, I did enable you as co-host, so you should be able to share it fine.
Okay. Trying to share. I have it pulled up on this. Hold on. See if I can download it. I should have done that. I had it pulled up on my browser. I'm downloading it, I think. I thought I'd be able to share my browser. Okay. Just a minute. Share. Can everybody see that? Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay,
Make it a little bit
Oh.
smaller,
make it smaller?
a little bit, so you can get the whole lot.
Okay. Also said there are 2 people in the waiting room. I just get a message. Like that?
Yeah, for discussion purposes, because it's important on the, to kind of.
Ooh. Okay, making everybody dizzy. Oh, no. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't open like full screen on the page. Maybe I can that way and then make it smaller. Oh, never mind. All right, that's what we got, I guess.
Oh. There
Is
you
that
go.
good?
Yeah, because you get in the middle of the upper tree there. Lawn. Yeah, like that. Wow.
Okay.
So we can do it, we can start there and then we can zoom in piece by piece, it's probably the easiest way.
Sure.
Um,
You're kind of quiet, Dave. I don't know if there's any way to get louder. But I mean, I can hear you. Can everybody hear him?
He changed. And now it seems hard, it was hard to hear that last one.
Okay, so basically the overall plan, can you hear me or getting an echo?
You know what it is? I probably have to mute. Because I have it open, but I can't see myself. We're like a comedy of errors here.
Mm.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Still echoes.
Echo.
Yeah,
How about now? Good, bad, and different?
If everybody mutes except David, that might help.
Started to do that myself.
How about now? Good?
Yes, that was good, Dave.
Okay. Basically, the overall plan here is to allow, and the most important thing is to allow view from coming out, when you're coming out of the car, in a car out of this driveway, because the curve that this house on is pretty brutal. From all directions, right, left, and even coming across the street. So that was kind of one of my number one concerns here. At the same time, having this house look decent from anybody looking at the house, which was kind of a challenge considering, this thing's been sort of an eyesore for years. So I took their design of the new structure and did the best I could as far as, hey, let's make this look pretty. And at the same time, have that visibility of let's get out of here safely. And that was kind of the 2 biggest things that I did as far as design here. And went with it. Turning around, looking in, you have a very rectilinear form, and I tried to soften it as much as I could and push the house back as much as they could, working within the lot lines and everything with the contours of the lot. And then I just kind of went to it and softened it up. And then if you go in, I tried not to do as much ring around the foundation as I could, but given what we had, we didn't have a lot to work with here. And again, keeping it open for view as far as street safety, which is utmost of importance with this property here. If anybody's driven on that street knows exactly what I'm talking about. Pulling out of this driveway is going to be tough. That's kind of what I went with, without getting into the details of every plant and neighbors and whatnot. And that's everything really in a nutshell as far as design. In the back, kind of giving some privacy to the people behind, people on the right, people on the left, again, without doing any harm as far as visibility coming out of that driveway. And again, very in a nutshell, that was kind of the premise of the whole design of this landscape here. I don't know if you have any questions, and we go.
Did any of the board have questions? Sorry.
We do. There's a couple of questions. Is there a place for trash, and are they gonna, is it something that comes out onto the street? You know, like we talked about this with 129 Maple. Where do they have?
I figured this was like a two residence, so they were gonna probably do the pay as you throw, the bag system, because it was only two homes here, so to speak. I didn't figure for a dumpster. So that was how I kind of calculated that one.
And I know that there's a retaining wall that's on in this case, looking at the picture on the lower left. What are they doing about that? Because that looks like it's in a couple of different stages and materials.
In the back,
Yeah.
yeah, I figured in the back there. I planted it up in the back. I was not sure what they were gonna do as far as the wall goes itself. We didn't have a discussion with that. My feeling was, it's kind of up to them. They can spec to me and say, hey, we're gonna do this or that. That's kind of in the builder's department and what he decides to go with.
Okay, so that's more design review as opposed to the landscaper that we're talking to right now.
Yes, I mean, they can make a call on what they want to do.
All right. So then to that end, then I'd ask the question that would that not be something that we would put in again to see what the plan was and how that wall was going to be changed, repaired, whatever.
Right, we can ask the builder on what he wants here. Yes.
So Laurie, that would be one thing I'd like to get some information on. I went on the lot actually right after we saw it for the first time, and I thought, this is such a beautiful design. And then when I saw the lot, I was a little shaken by it. And so there were two, and maybe they're on here and I just don't see it. The two porticos or the little, what were they? The attractive little pergolas, the pergolas that were in the design. Wasn't that on this one? So there was supposed to be a pergola on either side of the housing.
You lost me. Pergolas on the house.
No, when the first design we saw it, it didn't show where it was being laid out, but it had the homes, and then on left and right of the homes separately were two little pergolas that had, some plantings around them. So I'm assuming they're not on here anymore because of the house being pushed so close to the lot line. And I don't know that maybe they're there, and I don't know what the graphic representation is for it.
This is Al Martin speaking from Martin Designs. Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
The pergolas, they have been removed. We're not going to be doing them anymore.
So then my next question too is with the driveway, and I'm glad that we left it as it was to give some extra space. But considering the people who'd live in the north building side, if I'm going to say you're going to split it up, the one that's closer again to the neighborhood as opposed to the street, if they are using their driveways to get onto Main Street, and safety wise, obviously you'd want them to come out head first, because trying to back out of that would be really dangerous. Almost, you almost want to put those round, they have the round mirrors out on the road so people can see who's coming around. Would almost be a great idea, but wouldn't be on their property. So that, say there's somebody who's visiting the other condo and there's a couple of cars in the driveway there. Is there enough room for the head-on person to come in, and then if he's got somebody else in that little driveway area, although I suppose, what is it, two cars in the pieces that come out this way?
In the bump outs?
You know what I'm talking about? Yes.
These bump outs?
Those two areas. Does that have space for two cars each? I would imagine, right?
It was probably designed as a turnaround, so when you come out of your garage, you go like this and like that.
Is there anyone from Cornerstone there in the meeting today? Nope.
But this is,
George?
yeah, from what I see, these guys, with the driveway and where they're entering the street, you couldn't do much more. They went as tight to the property line as they could. You've got 2 cars in each garage. You have backups for them to turn around. And I don't think you can make anything bulletproof. I think they care about their lives more than we may. So this is designed for them to leave head on, because even in both cases, you back up, and if you have 10 people there and there's a big party, well, that's such an exception to the rule. But if I was the guy pulling in, I would back in so that when I pulled out, I would back park in if you're going to have a bunch of people, and they could say, hey, back in, because it's possible to back out. But it's designed 100% with the turnarounds to pull out straight.
Yeah,
It
no,
was very well designed, but given the tightness and the location.
If I may interrupt, I'm no driveway expert, but this driveway, as soon as you drive in, it's wide enough for 4 cars. Okay, and then from what I remember, the last couple of meetings that we had, I think it was the second to last, not the last one. They Cornerstone specifically had added these bump outs for when you come in, you can do almost like a 3-point turn. So you can actually turn around. But to kind of, add to what Lisa was mentioning, I mean, once these are either rented or sold, there's nothing we can do, because I mean, we can't tell people how to park. They're going to do what they're going to do. I mean, as I think that as long as we leave them the amount of space to turn around, to back in or come in head on. But I mean, once it's out of our hands, there's no way we can ensure what they're going to do. You know what I mean? It's just like when you handle a license to somebody on the street, we don't know what they're going to do.
well, that's not the concern as much as, for me, you have now today, when you have 2 different families living next to each other, people sometimes aren't as conscientious about being good neighbors. They seem to take on, this is my area, and that's what I'm just trying to give them, as much safety as possible. And right, once it's sold, it's sold. That's a totally understood piece. So can you make the cutout or come in a little bit more? See that you've got a pretty good lawn area in the lower condo, that you could maybe bring that out to be a little bit bigger. I mean, it's 4 coming in, but you have to look at, one living, and they have visiting teenagers, got a friend or whatever. You're going to have to move around a little bit. Yeah.
That'd be a good question for Cornerstone, Lisa, but I'm pretty sure that we're also getting to the problem of lot coverage. I think that as far as the driveway goes, they used the maximum amount of coverage available. Obviously, if we can extend, we're more than happy to do so. But I think it starts getting into an issue with lot coverage. Like, for example, we may be able to extend this and then get it approved at the design review. And when we go for the permit issue, we may get pushed back because we don't comply with the lot coverage. But again, this is strictly a question for Cornerstone.
Okay.
And I'm going to politely disagree with Lisa. I think this has been done appropriately. You can say, make it wide enough for 2 cars, then you can make it wide enough for 3 cars, and then they have a party, should it be wide enough for 7 cars? Both people have a way to easily turn around and get out. How many cars are there is out of anybody's control, but what's designed, to me, and I do a lot of this civil work, and David probably can't talk to it, but it works. You back out, you have a turnaround, you go out facing forward. If there's a party, all bets are off, and that's in anybody's house or neighborhood. You're street parking, you're parking somewhere else, I'll meet you at the mall, 4 of us will come over here. But it works the way it should work, the way it's laid out, including the location of the drive where it hits the street.
Well, and again, the design is lovely. There's no question about that. The fact that the lot is so odd and it's so stuffed, that it is a serious safety concern. And I'm not saying that we're talking just party or 100 cars. You could have your landscaper in the way, you could have a number of things, but they're 2 different families that are living here. So it's not just looking at it as a one house. And I think
It's a common drive too, so they have to, there's got to be something on here that says you can't block my way out. And if they can get out, then they can get out head first.
so. Is that part of the conditions of this? Because I think that's great. I mean, that would be at least something to give them a little safety, more safety. Because I have seen people living in 2 different houses now together that don't get along with each other.
Gotta remember that we gotta please everyone. It's not just you. You gotta please the design community. You gotta please the planning board. You gotta please the building inspector. There's too much people to please, so someone gotta work out things out. It's not just you. There's a bunch of people that gotta please.
Okay, have you guys been in front of any other committees like groundwater yet?
No, because this is taking forever, so we didn't have time to go to any other meeting yet. We're still trying to get this approved here to move to the next step.
Yeah, I think it's only taken longer because we were getting information like within less than 24 hours in advance, which isn't.
Yeah, but you guys postponed 1 or 2 times, so.
I wouldn't say that because we bumped you off last
Last time
time.
was postponed for some reason.
Yeah, because you guys didn't get us the
Doesn't matter
information.
who fault is. We just want to try to get approved. I don't think you guys like what you guys have there now. We're trying to make something better for the town to get a better look. If you guys want to keep going with this, we can leave whatever's there now, which is really bad for the town.
Does anybody have any more questions about landscaping for Dave?
I don't.
Okay, Dave, how big are the trees down the bottom here? Like, are those the 2 trees?
Yes, sir. There should be.
Right here, are these the 2 trees that are added on the site?
Yeah, there should be there should be another page to this which has everything spec'd out on the sides, I believe.
I think it's a second page, so I hate to close this. I'll have to pull it up. I could try. I'm just curious.
Anyways, there should be a 2-inch caliper, which is going to be about 12 feet, 12 to 15.
Okay, so they start, I think that's the minimum, Lori, right? They have to be 2-inch caliper?
2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
Okay, and there's no trees along the front because then that would block.
I was
line
trying to
of sight.
I was trying to keep everything open, but yet at the same time, make it look good, and at the same time, give like 2 families in the back their own lawn space. I was just trying to balance everything. And again, my number 1 priority is just safety. Of
Right.
That's it.
I noticed, I think it was in Lori's letter. Does anybody know what type of fencing is gonna be here?
I was thinking kind of like an open, post and rail,
Like wood or vinyl?
like vinyl. But it won't do work, I just had it in my head, but
Yep.
yeah,
What
totally.
about the applicant? What are you thinking? Wood or vinyl?
Vinyl,
Okay, 6 feet or,
standard 6 feet.
okay. And then we probably have to stop it right before the end of the driveway to keep line of sight.
Yeah, it slopes down at the end.
Okay, I just can't tell, like, definitely want to make sure we leave room for line of sight so the fence isn't blocking the view.
Yes.
Okay. Lori, do you have any questions? Landscaping questions?
No landscaping questions, no.
Okay, so before I close this, Lisa had mentioned something about the retaining wall. Lori, do you know, is that something that is worked out with us or with the special permit granting?
Well, it's definitely something that should be submitted and clarified as part of the special permit and variance application. But mostly, the planning board is the one that would ultimately approve that. So in the details,
Yep,
you should have the design of the retaining wall as well as a detail of the fence.
okay. I'm just writing this down. All right. And then Dave, the way you have it drawn now, there are trees behind a retaining wall, but the retaining wall is up for debate. And these are
Yeah.
like arborvitae's.
I think that's what
Probably.
we expect out, yes.
Yep,
Yeah, yep.
okay. Anyone else have any questions? All right. I did see that we got a lighting plan this morning, but it was right before the meeting, so I haven't had a chance to open it. Did you have a chance to look at it, Lori, at all?
I did notice that the lighting isn't quite what had originally been submitted on the lighting plan. So there was only one light that was submitted. It's the outdoor wall light. It looks kind of modern.
Okay. So there's only one. Should I try to pull up the plans? I think they're still in the email because it came in so late. Should I try to open up the lighting plan?
We're gonna talk about it, I suppose.
Okay. I didn't have time this morning,
Seen it.
so I'm gonna try to open it. Okay, here's the lighting plan. Okay.
Vito is joining the meeting, the engineer.
Okay. Okay, back in. I try to open these in advance, but
Yeah, it's the detail. So the lighting plan is what you had previously seen and discussed. So the one that you want to open, it says lamps plus on the top.
oops. Did that open?
Yeah, that is the lighting plan. So that is what you have previously seen.
Oh, that's what I had on the email.
You should have gotten 2 emails from me this morning. So
Okay.
there's another one. So I sent them maybe a couple of minutes apart.
Okay. Just want to stop sharing. Did I stop sharing? Was it a scan?
It was, says
Okay.
lamps plus.
Cornerstone's online now.
I'm sorry, what was that?
He was saying Cornerstone's on the line.
Oh, okay. Yep,
Okay.
that's it.
Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I submitted this. This is Al Martin again. So this is for the wall lighting, which corresponds to the lighting plan that you have from me, which shows where these will be placed. Okay, so I try to get the best cut sheet that I could, but I was having a difficult time to get these cut sheets to say the amount of lumens, the amount of intensity that they're going to have. I feel like these will only come in when we actually buy them, and then the manual will come in. You can find it, but spent like 3 hours yesterday researching, and that's the best cut sheet that I could find. That kind of show what we intend to do. As far as the path lights that they're going to be along the driveway, okay, there's no way I have requested that these path lights be shown or depicted either the landscape design plan or the site plan. There's no way I can create an architectural plan layout just to show these path lights. Okay, we have 2 designs of the site that can literally just grab a couple squares and just drop it off there. So that's what I'm hoping for. That way we can come up with a pathway lighting design to fulfill the requirements from the design review committee. So I'm hoping that either Dave or whoever's from Cornerstone is in here today can assist me with that, so we can get through this hurdle.
Yep, and if it's, I don't know about the rest of the board, but if it's just pathway lighting and an outdoor light, not really big, no spotlights and no big lamp lights, then maybe the lighting plan can move forward just so that, like, the planning board or whoever goes to next. If there isn't any major lighting, I don't know what you think about that, Lori, if they can get it together for the special permit granting authority.
I think that would be fine.
I'm
So
okay with
usually
it.
the lighting manufacturer, will prepare a plan for you. So
That is correct. That Laurie? Laurie,
Yeah.
that is correct. That's what we have been doing in the past. Just for for more information. I mean, when we hire the electrician, they will prepare a full lighting plan. When we hire the HVAC company, they will prepare an HVAC plan. When we, and so on and so forth. But this is such an early stage that we can't afford to just hire these people to do these things, because they won't. But at some point towards the building, once the building permit is issued, then all these plans will start coming in, because at that point we'll have contracts with these subcontractors. But at this point, it's very tough to get them.
Oh, you should be able to get the spec sheet. Usually those are available on the website.
Yeah, well, that's the one I got, I was able to get yesterday, but I'm having, at least to myself, was having a lot of difficulties. For example, when I went to the dark, what was it? The dark compliant website, what they wanted us to do, they wanted us to do this whole sign up thing for an event so they could actually get us signed in order to obtain some of this information, which is ridiculous. They're just going to flood us with emails after the fact. But this is the problem that we're having.
Well, you are going to have to get this information for the planning board. The
Correct.
building inspector doesn't, that's going to be too late. So you can't wait until the building permit stage to get this information. You could probably, if the design review committee is okay with just this and just deferring it to the planning board, then that's fine. But when you're submitting to the planning board, I'm going to be looking for that information.
Okay. Well, what we're really hoping for, Laurie, is to get to a certain extent with the design review committee, that they say, hey, we'll let you guys move on to the next phase with the planning board, but quote unquote, as soon as you got all this information, come back to us. So that way we can kind of move parallel with each other. We need to be able to move forward. We can't get stuck.
But you don't need to have design review approval before you file an application with, you should go to the ZBA first. Because if you're not able to get the dimensional variances, then you can't proceed with the project.
Yeah. Okay.
So the next phase is ZBA, and you can file with them at any time. You don't need design review approval before you apply. It's helpful for you to, certainly have a letter that goes to ZBA before they render a decision. But from the date that you submit an application to the date of the public hearing is about 3 weeks anyway, minimum. So they only meet once a month. So don't think that you're being held up because you aren't.
Okay. But
And they could also do groundwater, right, at the same time as design review.
Correct.
So you could already start that part too.
sounds great.
Yeah, so if you don't get the relief you're seeking from ZBA, then you will not file with the planning board, because the planning board cannot approve a project with the zoning violation. So that is why you should go first to ZBA.
Or
Okay.
And groundwater, of course.
George,
Judge Member?
yeah, because when we first met at the town, you guys mentioned that to go first on design committee before doing anything. So I'm confused.
You can start the process. We always recommend that you start the process with design review. But you can also file simultaneously with the permitting authority. So, it is taking you a while to get through design review. The ZBA will be looking for the letter from design review, but it is something that you can do simultaneous. And the same is true with groundwater.
All right, George.
So they won't render a decision until they have the letter from design review and the letter from groundwater, typically.
George, if I'm not mistaken, that's what Lori mentioned in the beginning, for us to get the design committee approved first, then move over to different steps. But if we knew that from the beginning, I wouldn't be wasting our time here with design committee first.
When you first came to design review, it was really like, can I get in last minute? It was the night before. Can we just run your design past you and then we'll come back next month? And it seems like that's what's been happening all along. Like, we just want to get in quick for this meeting and then we'll come back. Like, so I don't feel like it's been us that's
Now,
been
you guys, I'm just
bumping you. Like, we need more than 24 hours to look at a site plan.
not saying that. I'm just saying that every meeting, to start off, that's what George and we met in person with the building inspector. You guys said get approved by design committee first, then move to different steps. So that's why I'm saying, George, can you interfere on this and basically, because like I said, if we knew we had to get the approvals and it kept on going, I wouldn't be doing design committee now. So.
Well, like you said, the
Basically,
permit-
so that we can draw this to a conclusion, we did not file with the ZBA because this is such a unique property that we knew we were going to have tied several meetings, probably some change in plans, and it wouldn't make any sense to go to the ZBA and then say, oh, by the way, guys, we've changed our plans all around, so you got a brand new plan here. So that's why we wanted to get through design review first. After this meeting, assuming that the design review finally grants their approval, then we will file immediately with the ZBA. We'll probably file that early next week. Then we'll start, really charge forward at that point.
I think that's what's the first step that you guys mentioned. Get the design meeting first approved, because which we can design back and forth to meet your requirements. So I'm thinking that's what it is. So we're held up because of the design committee.
Well, like I said, the permitting authority will not typically render a decision without having a letter from design review and from groundwater. So they just hold open. I'm sorry, let me just finish. So they just hold open the public hearing for however long it takes to get the letter from groundwater and from design review. So it's wise for you to have started the process with design review first. But I'm just telling you, you keep saying you're holding me up, you're holding me up. But really not, because you're not prohibited from filing with ZBA because you don't yet have your letter. I'm just kind of trying to clarify that for you.
Lori,
So
you should think the same sentence. First, you said we need the letter for the design review to file the ZBA. So then
I
you
did
said.
not say
file
that.
the-
I did not say that. Nope. That's,
Can I
Nope.
say it?
Excuse me, no, I'm the chair here. Can you let the planner finish? She actually said that you need the letter to get approval, that you can start at the same time. She didn't say you needed the letter from design review to start the process.
Well,
You
but
can-
we need the letter eventually when we go in front of the ZBA. So that means we still need to go through the process to get it approved with you guys so we can have the letter. So either way, it doesn't, okay, just let's try to see if we can get this thing done and move to the next step.
Right.
And how many more meetings we need to go in front of to get, trying to get approved.
Yeah, and the letter that you guys are saying, is it approved? What else you guys need? You know, I think everybody's on board here to actually move forward, so.
Okay. So now we've gone through the landscape plan. The lighting plan's not done, but you're gonna get it in time to bring to the ZBA or the planning board. And the next step is, I actually wanted to go through Lori's letter. There were a couple things in the letter. That way you have everything you need when you move forward or what you need for us. So I'm gonna stop sharing the light. Do we have any other comments about this light spec sheet that I have up? Says it's dark sky compliant, which is good.
Oh, looks fine.
Okay. And just to round up, we also had the house specs up at one point. I can bring them up again. Did we get all the materials? You have them all on what type of materials you're using? Are those all listed? It's been so long since you were here. Was it, I just want to ask one quick question. Was it vinyl? Was it cedar?
So what was that?
The materials on the house. We had gone through it before. I just have a quick question.
Okay,
It's all gonna
Al
be
Martin is
listed?
here.
Yep.
So I put up so last time, I did my presentation, I put up a presentation sheet.
Yep.
Let me bring it up here because I'm pretty sure the exact, what we're gonna use is there, but I just want to
Okay.
get you the right information. Give me a
Great.
second.
I just want to double check. We had the exact materials. The very first meeting we saw was just like,
Yeah, they were pretty, it was a good one. So here, a second. They're right in front of me. So the siding, deep ocean blue, hardy plank, 5/16 by 6 1/4 siding. And then we're gonna use some Arctic white hardy board and batten, 6 inches wide, the verticals on the gables.
mhm.
So we can bring a modern look to the much needed town of Northborough.
Okay, and there's decks on the back and no pergola.
No pergola because of the site.
Yep, that's fine. But you, in the drawing, you had decks on the back. Those will be there.
Yes. So if the deck cannot be there, we would explore the option of a patio.
Okay,
So I think at that point it'd be either planning board or building department decision. I'm pretty sure we have the land or the setbacks for the deck.
okay. So those are things that still have to go in front of the town.
Yes.
What they're doing, is that has to do with
So-
the retaining wall?
Maybe Vito can say a little bit about that. Do you think the retaining wall has anything to do with the rear deck, Vito? I didn't think so, but
No, I don't think so. That
Yeah.
retaining wall, the existing wall out in the back,
Yep.
yeah, that wouldn't, I don't think it gets conflicted with the decks.
Okay, but we're not sure if we have the space he just mentioned for a deck or a patio. Is
Mhm.
it just choice by them, or is there actually a setback issue or a groundwater issue?
If there's anything that has to get mitigated for groundwater, we just have to increase the size or something about dry wells, we could take care of that during any kind of final design. But as far as I don't think there's any setback issues there unless they're going to build it way out, excessively.
I didn't
but
think so either.
Yeah. So I don't see any real issues with either of those.
Okay. So in your view, Vito, because you're the site plan person, the site plans that we have right now, and depending on groundwater, but they're pretty much what's going to go forward.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. There might be some minor tweaks or final design items, but that layout and everything, that's it right now.
Okay.
Unless there's any other comments that come out of, this meeting or anything.
I have one.
Yep.
Amy,
Yep.
I wanted to talk about that retaining wall, not in its distance between that and the deck, but what the materials are and what it's going to look like. We don't have anything there that shows. That's part of the design of the lot.
That hasn't been thought through as far as the materials for the wall yet. Assuming it's going to be some kind of a block wall, those precast or prefab modular blocks. That's a typical wall that gets installed there.
How tall is it, Vito?
I don't have it in front of me. I think it was about 4 feet or so.
Okay.
It wasn't, it isn't like a 8-foot wall or anything like that.
Yeah.
You can always use block walls 4 feet. Block wall.
Yeah, like a Versalock or something like that.
Is it, they'll need that on some paper to be able to say, yes, this is what it's going to look like before we can. All right.
Get you a picture of the blocks.
So is that something that we can put in the memo that will be sent to the SPGA too? That retaining wall design needs to be verified?
Hey Vito, is that an engineered wall?
If it gets to 4 feet or over 4 feet, then it would be. If we keep it under 4 feet, it doesn't need to be. So it's right on that fringe. But that would be a building code issue. If we get over that 4 feet, then it has to go through building. It'd be an engineered wall. And usually the manufacturer would be able to provide that.
Okay. I'm going to look to see if I can bring up your review letter, Lori. See, it's open in my
I
browser.
could just quickly go over the outstanding items if that's helpful instead of bringing it.
Here, let me try to bring it up for 1 second. I think I have it. I think I just have to change what's in my browser to show that. No, maybe it doesn't.
Probably be faster if I just go through it, if that's okay.
Right. Did that bring it up?
It did.
Okay. All right.
So it's just the bolded comments are the new additions. So many of the comments have been fully addressed. There were just a couple of items under number 2 on sheet 4. There's some overlapping text. I just suggested that you fix that for the formal submission. Under number 6.
Number 4, I highlighted as a question.
Yeah, that was a comment that I made. Just my own personal preference is that they provide some landscaping for the driveway, but I think we went over that at the last minute meeting, and you folks didn't think that that was necessary. So I was just saying that I have no more comments on that.
Okay.
So number 6, had to do with the walkway. So I'm just specifying that that should be included in the detail. So you should put the, the depth of base versus gravel, and then specify the material for the walkway, whether it's going to be concrete or asphalt or decorative pavers or whatever you're going to do. I thought that that is something that could be deferred to the planning board as the site plan approval authority. Number 8 was fully addressed, so I didn't have any further comments on that. Number 9, so they have agreed to do the underground utilities, which is great. And I know that National Grid tells you where the utility boxes are going to be. So that's not your decision where to put the utility boxes. But I just suggested a recommendation from design review or condition of approval for the planning board that the utility boxes should be screened from view using plantings. Let's see. Then number 11 had to do with the intersection of what is that? Overlook Parkway, Overlook Park and Hudson Street. So I know the comment said that there is no existing curb, but the photo that I submitted shows that there is existing curb, but it's in really bad shape. So it obviously has been run over. So it's scattered kind of all over the place. So my suggestion is to reset the curb if it can be saved. If it can't be saved, then it should be replaced. Ask for a detail of the privacy fence. We already went over that. Kind of confused because the site plan versus the landscaping plan, there are a number of trees that are existing. So they're shown on the site plan, but it's not clear to me if those trees will remain or will be removed. So typically on the existing conditions plan or just the site plan itself, you would identify which trees are going to be removed. So if you could clarify that, that would be helpful. And then I was confused about the fact that there's a vertical granite curve detail in the site plan, but then when you look at the site plan itself, there is no location where vertical granite curve would be. So my question was, did you include that detail because you do plan to reset the granite curve that exists at the intersection? Vito, what's your thought on that?
Just for as far as the curbing goes, we do whatever the town wants in that spot. The picture that you had, that was maybe a 12-year-old picture. The curb since then is really, it's not really much there anymore. And I think it's precast concrete, and I think it was just it looks almost like wheel stops. It's not really curbing per se. And it was for that landscaping island that used to have a flagpole in it and stuff. But we can do whatever there, and we just had the detail on there. I think we were gonna put the curb on, and then we ended up not. So if we do include granite curb, we'll keep the detail. If we don't, we'll take the detail off. But we'll do whatever is asked for to close up that existing driveway and reconstruct that rounding right there.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the memo, the comments that we're going to mention, and this is just brief, Lori probably has more, is to review, the site special permit granting authority will review Lori's letter anyways, and she'll update it with any changes. So that'll be good. But we also need, and that's in her letter, we need the lighting plan to go to this special permit granting authority. We need more details on the retaining wall. Was there anything else? other than whatever's left on Lori's letter. Retaining wall and the lighting.
The fence as well,
Oh, and the
Yeah.
fence. Yep,
And,
and the walkway.
and the walkway.
and the fence detail, we called it a privacy fence first, but then a rail and post isn't a privacy fence. Right?
Right, some more fence details. And if the well, he said a vinyl fence, 6 feet. So as the
I'll provide a
applicant,
cut sheet. I'll provide
Yep.
a cut sheet of the fence that we're using. We're gonna do 6 feet just in case, 8 feet is gonna be too high, especially
Yep.
when you're coming off the curb. I'll
is it
provide a
gonna
cut sheet
be-
on that.
is it gonna be a solid fence?
Solid fence, I'll provide a cut sheet, then we can,
Okay.
take a look
All
at
right.
it, okay?
Yep,
Thanks.
thank you.
Yep.
And so the memo, Lori, if the rest of the design review agrees, we'll take a vote. Will be just like the 78 West Main Street memo, how it's written, the design review met on these dates, reviewed these sheets, and suggests the following comments and recommendations should the special permit granting authority approve the project. Because like we just talked about with you guys, the applicant, that we are an advisory just about the design of the building, the landscaping. We do not say yes or no on whether we think they should approve the frontage or the lack of lot size, just to let you know. Just because you get our memo, it doesn't agree with those things. That's up to the special permit granting authority. So I just want to ask the design review committee if you agreed that we should go forward with a memo to the special permit granting authority stating what I just said, that we met on these dates, reviewed these sheets, and we have the comments and recommendations that Lori just mentioned. How does everybody feel about that? Do they feel?
I'm
we have-
fine.
Okay, enough
There
to
we
go
go.
forward. Okay, Dave, are you okay pushing it forward?
He recused himself, so.
Oh, that's right, sorry. How about you, Lisa?
Well, I have my reservations, not having a lot of stuff in front of us and having it late, and not having it all together. It's hard to decide what everything is. The lighting on the building looks different, the building, this, one thing's taken off, another thing's put on. It makes it very difficult in the end, because if it isn't specific, then you get a totally different look, and it's like, well, these are the things we had to work with, and so we went forward with it. Like I said, I have my reservations, but to make it simple, today's meeting, you can make a memo.
Okay, thank you. I agree with you. A lot of things came in last minute and then there were changes made. So it's hard to know what we have going forward, but it sounds like you're going to get a lot of details to bring forward to the special permit granting authority, which I am on. So I'll be able to know what's missing and what's not missing. And so I'll keep an eye out. So with that, I'm okay with it going forward because I know I'm going to keep my eye on it and make sure we get all those details. Okay, should I take a vote or is that good enough?
Yes,
All right.
please.
All right, I'll take the vote that the design review committee forwards the memo. How I just stated it to Lori, she'll forward a memo to the special permit granting authority with our recommendations and comments.
So moved.
Thank you. So Lisa approved and Dario, do you
Yes.
second? Okay,
I second.
roll call vote, Lisa Maselli.
Aye.
Dario Demond,
Aye.
and Amy Pertzes and I. All right, good luck. You're on to your next step. And like Lori had mentioned, you could talk to her at any time. You can start on some of these committees simultaneously.
Thank you, I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see
Okay.
you early next week, Lori.
I thank you all.
Thanks. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody. Next on the agenda, I'd just like to review and approve the May 11th, 2023 minutes, if everybody had a chance to look at them.
Did want to just make one comment on your revisions, Amy.
Sure.
There was a question that you had asked about the vegetation along Bartlett Street. And you questioned whether it was Bartlett Street, and that street is actually called Bartlett Street. So my
Oh,
suggestion was just to leave the language as is instead of eliminating that sentence.
okay, that's so confusing to me, because when I think of Bartlett Street, I'm back down by the warehouses.
Yeah, it's such a tiny, I mean, it's only a couple hundred linear feet of street in between Route 20 and East Main Street, but it is technically called Bartlett, so
Oh, so that when you cross through the lights over to like East Main Street, that's still Bartlett Street.
it is, yes.
Okay.
My question on that is, it says treed. Is it really treed or is it just weeds?
It's treed.
And
Is
so
that
it,
the,
It is a, it is a forested area. So it is kind of more natural looking. It is not a well landscaped, well maintained area. It's kind of wild.
yeah, but it's not that thick necessarily, right? Like when you talk about wooded and such, I mean, you think of a larger space, like say the area between the back of the property and East Main Street. I mean, that's clearly treed, where when I think, because I've walked that before, and it just seems like it's, because we've had this once before, actually, in my very first meeting down on next to 290, that we said, oh, you can leave the vegetation there because it's, it's filled, but then actuality, it was just weeds and it got cut and now you can see right into the property. So I was just checking on really what the density of it is, just in noting it. I just thought that kind of gave the impression it was pretty deep.
The specific language is an existing wooded area on Bartlett Street will be preserved as a buffer. I personally think that that's an accurate statement to describe this wooded area. But if you want to change wooded to treed or something else, then that's fine too.
are there trees or is it scrub brush?
Yeah, how about just vegetated?
It's not
A little
brush.
bit of everything as I look out my window.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's definitely not brush. It's trees.
Maybe vegetated does work better because that's a mix.
Okay, I'll change it to vegetated.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Can you say something to the effect of maintained or improved? Because I think there's like poison sumac and poison ivy and there's a lot of stuff there. And I'm not asking them to redo it, but just give them the option. Because I think if you say maintained, it kind of means they can't touch it, I think. And I don't know, but just give them the option to make it nicer, but don't mandate it, because it is a nice buffer as it exists, but to me, it's highway plants is what, and trees is what it is.
Excuse me, they're going to be coming back to the meeting in August. So I think right now we're just working on the meeting minutes. So
Okay.
I think that if you could just reserve
Fair
that
enough.
comment
Yep.
and share it when they come back in August, I think
That makes sense. Yeah.
that is- Thank you.
Okay. All right. So you'll change the word to vegetated. Do I have a motion? Does anybody else have any questions about the May 11th minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the May 11th, 2023 Design Review Committee meeting minutes
As amended.
as amended?
So moved.
Okay. Lisa made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay. All in favor? Lisa Maselli,
Aye.
Dario DeMar,
Aye.
and Dave Varon,
Aye.
and Amy Preskis and I. The minutes are approved. The June meetings minutes will be bumped. I had added downtown revitalization, but it's kind of late. to talk about that. We could talk about next meeting, and also Bob isn't here. One thing I did want to bring up is the MPIC had their third meeting of the downtown revitalization, where they had the 4 designs of the 4 different sections of downtown. Lori, are all those up on the website? Like,
You know, I've been on vacation. I don't think we uploaded them while I was away, so I will make sure that those are up today.
okay, it's no rush. I didn't go and look either. But one thing I think that came out of that is, at least in the short term, the major thing we can do for downtown revitalization is going to be signage, facades, and plantings and planters. So one idea I had, because I know the planning board will be busy with the MBTA and other applications, that maybe the design review committee could work on the facade and sign, you know, changes to the bylaws, just like we did with the duplex. And it's up to the board, but I thought we would have a shot at it too, to talk about any facade changes that we could talk about. Or Lori, you were gonna, we're gonna work with CMRPC on it too.
So you're talking about development of design guidelines that are specific to the downtown? Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we had talked about signs like 2 years ago, and we're told, wait till master plan is completed. And then I think it was Lisa who asked Rick Leaf at the meeting, the community meeting, what about the sign bylaw? Did the consultants come up with any suggestions about the sign bylaw? And he said, no, that's up to design review. So I was thinking, if it's up to design review, then maybe we put that on our agenda to start looking into the sign bylaw and certain changes that will help, you know, vitalize the downtown or make it coherent and cohesive. I guess
So we're
cohesive.
talking about changes to the bylaw itself, or are we talking about design guidelines?
I think I'm talking about both. Whatever we can do as a committee to try to help the downtown move forward in the direction that people had, you know, people want to see. And I thought it would take a lift off of the planning board if we had time as a design review committee to sit down. I know Shrewsbury has just done it. They updated their bylaws for downtown revitalization, and I can share it with everybody. They updated their sign bylaw, and it talked about awnings. And there was a picture that during the community meeting where they shared one building downtown next to the Northbrook House of Pizza, and what a big difference it made with some nice awnings and some planters. It really, really changed the whole look of that corner. So I just wanted to throw it out there.
And I'm gonna, at this point, because we've had a lot of conversations back and forth, even the minutes we just approved. I think we have to do the 614 minutes too, if I'm not mistaken, but what came out during our last presentation was, and I think it applies to the ice cream shop. When we looked at it, Master Plan Implementation Committee and the town master plan and the design guidelines all really seem to be in sync. You know, the Master Plan Implementation Committee is focusing on downtown, but they're responsible for the entire town. And then when I looked at all the design guidelines, everything there, not just downtown, but throughout the entire city, said New Englandy, if you will, for a better choice of words. And every graphic example that we published, the front page of the guideline shows, here's what we like, here's what we don't like, here's what we like, here's what we don't like. Which then, now that I have that knowledge with the ice cream shop, it absolutely does not comply with anything that anybody wanted in the town in any category, whether it's master plan, DRC, and everything else. And I think pulling that together, because when I had my first review, I didn't even know what, you know, those guidelines were and how far they went. So all of a sudden I said, I like the building, but I'm not sure if it's contextual. And then having done the research, it is not contextual at all. And it wouldn't pass any of our guidelines, whether it's master plan or DRC. And I think pulling that together, because it was a right-hand, left-hand thing, but it seemed really obvious. And I forgot, I think, Amy, you might have sent me the guidelines saying, look here, look, so when I looked at what we had published, then it's a no-brainer for anybody applying to look at what we're trying to do, because nowhere in any of our literature does it show anything except something that's more traditional. And it doesn't have to be New England, a Cape, but it could be Victorian, it could be colonial, it could be, craftsman style. But that ice cream shop did not fit any of those. So that was a weird thing that I wasn't sure of when I spoke up, but now I'm pretty sure after I looked through everything.
One thing I suggest, because they're not here, the applicant for 305, 309 is not here today. I'd really not want to go into any sort of detail about.
And I agree with that, Lori, 100%. I just want, that was a simple example, but I think as a committee, I'm pointing it out as a single example, but it would apply across the board that we're in sync with this stuff. And you could take that off the entire conversation. I didn't know at the time, but that was a simple example. And I'm not saying go back and change it or whatever, but I am saying we should be consistent and understand that everything is documented very clearly that that's what this town wants. So my I don't know was my own ignorance. And now that I do know, I would have commented differently, and I will comment differently unless we change what we want as a town. And it's very clearly pointed out in all the stuff that we have documented. And that was really my bad on that one. And someone brought it up and said it wasn't quote unquote New Englandy. And then I scratched my head and didn't know. But I think as a group, we should be consistent and understand left hand, right hand.
I do have a question with that though. Let's say, I'm gonna throw another curveball at us. Let's say, I'm gonna use McDonald's. Let's say McDonald's says, hey, we're gonna come in and we wanna throw McDonald's across the street from, I don't know, Dunkin' Donuts.
Yep.
And they wanna do the typical McDonald's, which doesn't fit anything here. How do we deal with that in this whole scheme too?
It's very simple, David. If you I just got back from Freeport or in Maine.
Yeah.
Their McDonald's looks like it's very New Englandy. It's all brick. It has shutters and everything else, and the arches are subdued. McDonald's will comply with any local planning regs as long as they know them in advance, and otherwise they don't build. So if they want the market, they will make it, brick and white shutters or whatever we want.
Okay, because I've seen that like with Stop and Shop down in the Cape, like in Chatham.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They all know the rules before they play the game. I think that's the important thing. So I don't think you're going to, it doesn't cost more to do it, but you know the style before you start.
Okay.
You're
You're
muted.
muted, Amy.
Okay,
Yeah,
same
you
thing with Dunkin' Donuts downtown, like, it really should have followed design review, because if you look at the Dunkin' Donuts in Westboro, it looks a lot different than Dunkin' Donuts in downtown Northborough.
And that's my whole point. And Laura, you're 100% correct. Like, I'm not trying to isolate these guys. It pointed out a bigger issue. And I think if we're consistent and we understand the rules and the applicants know the rules before they play, so they don't have to go back and revise, that's really important. But it is all spelled out. And that was good that I got shown that, reminded that we do have it all spelled out. And it does apply to Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's or anybody else. And it can, because it happens across the country that way. And I'm talking from Oregon to Maine, and even Westboro, you go to Wellesley, it's not going to look like a big McDonald's, and it's going to fit in with the town.
That's exactly what I was trying to get at when we first discussed it at that meeting. But I love it. And I think that's what we're trying to create. We've been trying to create it for a few years, is that totality look. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. And then that leads into why I asked Rick at the MPIC meeting what we can do about signage, because we've been saying, no, 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 no. I think we should set up design standards on signage. Sizes, I guess, has to do with the zoning, but what the look is even for signage. Many towns have their own signage design standards. And I think we're starting off, we've got MPIC working on a new look and everything else. And I think signage is very important because it's like putting on your jewelry for your outfit. You want it to kind of go with it, look nice. And I think that we need to get a set of standards where it's right there. I know Laurie had said at our last meeting that we're supposed to see signage for the commercial in advance of exactly what the sign's supposed to look like, if I'm not mistaken. And
it's only in circumstances where they go through the permitting authority. So if they are applying for a special permit or site plan review, then you should see it as part of that permitting process. If they are not triggering site plan review, you would not see it. I don't see it. It just goes to the building inspector for a sign permit.
isn't that,
We could change that too. If it was downtown, we could trigger that it has to go towards the new, either the new bylaws we write or the new design guidelines.
or
that we have.
including them both, but I think when we looked at new builds, it wasn't just if it had to go before those two permittings. New builds were going to come with the signage, where if it was an existing building, that's when it triggered it to go just to the building inspector. And we talked with him, and he even said, you do it, I don't care. You remember that, Amy? So I think it just makes it easy for everybody to have it set up, to have it agreed to, and then to give it to them so that they know in advance, because you can tell from our last applicant how frustrated he is. But it's up to us to make the beginnings, and then once it's done, it's in paper, and then they can be compliant or not compliant. That's not up to us. But I think that having the detail is important, and I think signage is a huge part of how we look. So,
And just quickly, one thing that's standing out on the ZBA and planning board side is, for example, our signage, it's 32 square feet for a sign, no matter what size your building is. So if you're a teeny tiny building, you get 32 square feet. But if you're a Wegmans, you get 32 square feet. And a lot of people, a lot of towns that I see, it's a percentage on the size of the wall. Like, because either it's really big or it's really small. So I think that's one way we tried to bring forward changing the signs, is it's more of a percentage of the wall size or the building size versus, because anytime someone wants bigger than 32 square feet, they're going to the ZBA.
Yeah, and I think well, to everybody's point here, whatever we do to try to make it better, if there's a checklist that the applicants have before they start designing, then at least they have a choice whether they want to comply or not. They can try to do something else, but if we say, here's what we're looking for, and the ice cream guy says, I don't care, I want to make it look like a big ice cream cone or a big hot dog or whatever, then they risk getting voted out. But I think it's really important, because I don't want to tell people to change stuff. I don't want to make their life miserable. I don't like to say, here's what we're trying to do. Here's a list, 1 to 25, and you come in and you hit all these things. You're very likely going to sail right through because you've listened to what we're asking for. And now, at least I know more clearly what we're asking for, because it's kind of everywhere. But if there was a single spot, then it makes their lives easier. And I learned a big one on that, just trying to be consistent and being on both committees, got to see, holy mackerel, we have a lot of this in the master plan. Their goals just start off, very, very, the quaint town thing. And then I sat here and said I liked the ice cream shop, but wasn't sure if it was in context. And again, Lori, I'm not trying, that's just an example. It has where I learned my lesson, if you will.
Okay, so I think that's a good opening point and start of the discussion. I just wanted to throw it out there. If we have time, maybe it should be the design review committee that puts together some standards for signs and facades and then sends it forward to the planning board. But it's up to us and how much time we have, and I guess it'd probably be up to the planning board too. I'll bring it up at the next planning board meeting. But I know we're focusing on the MBTA community and other stuff, so I don't know. I was just throwing it out there that maybe it was something that we could tackle.
Well, I'd certainly be willing to help with my design skills and such, but I think it's really important to do, and I think that starting here is a good idea if the planning board wants us to do it. And I think it's going to be helpful for everybody.
And I
So-
wanted to try to get it for next year's town meeting because we tried it 2 years ago. And there were people, I think it was Rick Leaf and John Campbell, who stood up and said, wait for the master plan. And the master plan now has turned around and said, well, that's up to design review. So I don't want to waste another 2 years because then it's hard to go backwards and say, well, they did this, they did that. Let's try to move forward and get something done for this year's town meeting.
The design guidelines don't have to go before town meeting, so that would just be adopted by the planning board.
Yep.
But certainly the zoning bylaw changes would need to go to town meeting.
Okay.
Mario, you think?
Makes sense to you, Lori, just so we're like kind of coordinated to make everybody's life easier, especially the applicants?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see the benefits, and other communities have done design guidelines that are specific for the downtown. I can definitely see the benefit of having a certain character for the downtown. I kind of hesitate myself about making it uniform throughout town, because then I just think that it may be a bit boring. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. If you folks think that the uniform look throughout the town is what you're going for, then, you know, certainly we can ensure that the design guidelines say that.
I think that's what's documented right now. Not that we can't change it, but when I dug into it, it wasn't just downtown, it was Northborough. And if we decide to change it, that would be our prerogative. But as it exists today, there's no line that was ever drawn between what we recently, you know, legally, illegally, whatever, officially designed as downtown. But I think if we were going to change that, then, you know, we would have to put a real delineation of where downtown is. But right now, as everything that exists, it's the town of Northborough. There's no differentiation anywhere except the focus on what we've been tasked to do for master plan. It was just the focus, but the master plan dealt with the entire town, you know, because we were talking about walking paths and, you know, stuff where the cemetery is and, you know, the ponds. But anyway, so I think we're all on the same page, which is good. And if we discuss should it be downtown or everywhere, I think that's on the table. But as it exists right now, it is the town. And then that's up to everybody here. It's not just my opinion, for sure.
I agree with that. And I'd like to make a quick example, like in that area, you had a beautiful, a little cape that was turned into a beautiful ice cream flower shop. And the person who did that did a beautiful job with the pergolas and just, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then next door, a car repair place went in and it's a square box. And it fights to me when I look at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, that was kind of disappointing that it was such a vast change. And because when we're probably talking like, 20 Main Street, East Main Street, West Main Street, but you go to Sudbury, you drive down Route 20 in Sudbury, and some of the towns that have that main artery through them, they do look lovely because they, everything doesn't have to be the exact same building, but the same feeling. And I think that behooves the designer, the builder coming in to say, this is kind of the feeling that we have, the unique or the, what did you say, the quaint New England town, like if you go to Chatham or something like that. So because we're rural, because we're not, right on Route 9, basically, we're kind of a meandering road that's more of a truck route than anything. I think we're on the right track by doing that. And I totally agree with what Dario's saying.
Okay, I know everybody probably has to run. So that was a good start, and hopefully we have time. That's my only problem. If we go into like sign guidelines and in bylaws, I'm not sure how much. We have 2 applicants next in August, at least.
Correct. Yep.
That's my only concern. We might have to have a second meeting a month if we're gonna do some sort of sign. Or we,
Excuse me, didn't we do that when we ended up doing the duplexes?
yeah, maybe.
Originally, let somebody else do it, and then we took it, we changed it, and it got
Yeah.
done. So I think that's the way we should go with it.
Okay, so maybe, I know Laura, you had brought up a sign and facade. Weren't we gonna, was it CMRPC?
So the sign and facade program I put together, and it's sitting on Jason Little's desk. I just wanted to get his okay before I submitted it to the Board of Selectmen, because the proposal is to use ARPA funds to finance the program. And he wanted to do some research before he said to me that was, and to the Board of Selectmen, that was an appropriate use of those funds. So that's where it stands now. It's pretty much the draft is written and good to go, and waiting for his sign off. So as soon as I get that, I did speak to him yesterday or maybe the day before about it. And he said that he would get moving on that. So I'm planning on submitting that hopefully within the next couple of weeks.
So is that to hire a consultant?
Nope. That is to create a sign and facade program that would finance improvements to signs and facades.
So that would pay to fix people's signs and paint their buildings?
So they would apply. So they would submit applications. The way I wrote it is it would be a matching program. So there is a cap on the facade program and there's a cap on the sign program. Can't remember off the top of my head. I know that the cap for the facade program is $20,000 and the cap for the sign program, I believe I kept moving that around. So I think I might have left it at $2,000. So they would have to match whatever their request is. So it'd be 50-50. So if they wanted a $4,000 sign, they would have to put up $2,000 and then the town would pay $2,000. So the same is true for, the facade program. So if they wanted to do $20,000 of improvements on the facade, they would have to pay $10,000 and then the town would pay $10,000 for the total of the $20,000. So this application would go before like a little committee. And so the committee there would be certain criteria for the approval. So who gets the money and who doesn't get the money. And there would be an opportunity for the little committee to work with the applicants to kind of get them to the point where they're eligible for the money. But the goal is to ensure that whatever the improvements that are being funded through this program are beneficial to the community, are in keeping with the architectural character of the building. So if it's an ugly design, it wouldn't receive the funding. So I'd be happy to send out to you folks what I put together, and then you folks could individually, because of course we don't want to violate open meeting law, so you could individually comment to me whether you think that there should be modifications. If you could track the changes in the text, that would be helpful.
Okay, I think that'd be great. I do think the individual committee should be the design review then, because we're already, like, see how Dario is on the master plan and he's on the design review and he's read all the books. Like, to have someone start from scratch, say you pick a resident, now you're gonna have to start from scratch and make sure they've read all the design review and attended the master plan and read the master plan. Like, not that they couldn't do it, but I think if you already have a committee that's trying to pull together the design standards downtown and throughout Main Street, you'd want someone who already has their feet wet. That's
You
just
know,
my
what I was envisioning is that it would be one person from design review, it would be the building inspector, and it would be myself. So it'd be a three-member committee. And the reason why is because it's important that the building inspector is on there to ensure that what they're proposing is going to meet code.
Mhm.
And then, you know, of course, I thought that it would be good to have somebody from design review, of course. But I think it's important to have the combination of the staff and the residents to also, because this is a funding program, to provide the perception that this isn't a political thing, that the money is going to be allocated not in a political manner. So that was kind of my thinking. When I was looking at the other sign and facade programs that exist, it seems that that generally is the way. It's usually staff that's on the committee, and there might be like a resident.
See, I would picture design review and then staff input from building inspector and you. Not that I am against anything, but it's like our town and your staff, and it's great and you work for our town, but in the past, some things have gone not the way the town wants it. And so if staff has 2 votes and one design review member has 1 vote, I don't know. I mean, I look at downtown and we had a community development plan done in 1994 or 84, and it laid out exactly what we were supposed to do. And it was way before our time. And if the staff at that time had pushed, this is what we want to do, then our downtown would look very different today. And I'm not blaming anyone, but it just falls through the crack and the applicants push. And I just really think you need the design review committee or a committee to be the one who says, and then the staff can give their input and then there could be a vote. That's the way I look at it, because I don't know. And I also think our sign bylaw needs to be updated if we're going to be approving new signs.
Well, the other important consideration is that the ARPA money expires. You know, so there isn't a lot of time. So this money has to be pushed out the door really quick.
Yeah, that's okay.
So that's one of my concerns. If we have to wait for this committee, if it's a you know, more of a staff, okay, the applications come in, we meet every 2 weeks. You know, we meet with the applicants during the workday to kind of go over their applications. Then it's just faster than waiting for a monthly committee meeting when you folks have other tasks, which is, of course, to review applications that come before you.
I think you could meet and then bring what you think is final to the committee. I think we're in the place we're at because of certain things like that. I wouldn't be for staff making all the decisions. And it's not that I'm against anything that you or Bob say, but I don't know. It's concerning to me.
I agree with Amy, and I mean, we're not sure how much ARPA money we will get. It's still still pending. But I think that we can probably work sooner than later on getting some of those standards put together. And I think Amy makes a good point, is that, we're trying to create the look. And that look is what, as Dario said, we agree on the look, and we're bringing forward the look, and we're more with the designers, the design committee specifically, where you probably have even more work than we do. And if it meant that for a couple of months we met twice, I wouldn't be opposed to that. So it would relieve you a little bit. And then we could have more consistency even for what the standards that we're putting together. So
And
you
we
could,
Oh, sorry.
so we're not excluding by any means, but instead of having a specific, or this is the one group, and I like where Amy's thought process is.
So Laura, if you can just send it out and we can give our input. I know it's only almost 12. Dave probably has to go, and Dario probably has to go. And I have to go too in a way, but this is so important. I don't want it to slide through, because I think we have the chance to finally make the changes that, the people have been complaining about since 1987 or 84. And it's nothing against the businesses, but there was no cohesiveness that was held to. Like, I can't get the words out, but I think if, like Dario said, as long as the applicant knows, I asked my sister too, because she's a small business in a small town. And I said, what do you think about the sign bylaw? She goes, they tell me what to do and I do it. She's like, she didn't care either way, as long as she knew what she was supposed to do. And I think we could change the way it looks downtown. I think they would be okay doing, as long as they knew what they had to do and did it, it could really make a lot of change. But I can let everybody go. I know I keep talking.
Want me to make a motion to close,
Sure.
or do you want to make a closing statement before?
Sure,
I do?
but so where are we leaving it now? Laura, you'll send us out the sign and facade
Well,
document. Okay, and we meet like August 10th, I think it is, next. And then we can talk about it and send our comments.
Great, individually.
Yep, individually. Okay, everybody, enjoy your July, but we'll make a motion to conclude the meeting.
I'll
So-
make a motion to conclude.
I'll second.
All right, I'll take a roll call vote. Dario DeMar,
Aye.
Dave Aaron,
Aye.
Lisa Maselli.
Aye.